Hi everybody, welcome to week 1 of History 202. I'm Professor Messner, and I wanted to say a little bit about what you're going to be reading this week, in particular chapter 16, but also the reading on sharecropping that's on the menu for this week. So chapter 16 covers basically 3 areas. It talks about how Reconstruction got going from presidential to congressional and then to the radical era of Reconstruction. This textbook puts it in 3 different terms. Many historians put it in 2, but that's the way we have it for this. Second, it talks about how the slaves, the former slaves, experimented with the idea of freedom and how freedom really has a context in both politics and in both social life. And then third, it talks about how Southern whites really got rid of Reconstruction and why Northern whites got tired of it and abandoned it. So by the end of this chapter, I hope you've seen that Reconstruction did not in fact begin until after the Civil War was over. It had roots in the actual Civil War. Lincoln had been thinking about it since at least 1863. I hope that you understand that Reconstruction governments in the South were not especially corrupt, or if they were corrupt, they were no more corrupt than any other type of governments. And I also want you to get the idea that Reconstruction is in fact relevant. It is not just history book material. You could make a case that Reconstruction is more important than the actual Civil War because it dictated how we were going to be for the next 100 years, and it was not necessarily a good transition. Looking at page 425, you're going to see the Tennessee Freedmen Convention petition, which I think is enlightening from that point of view. We'll see the spot map of the Reconstruction military districts. When you get to the Military Reconstruction Act, that will I think heighten your understanding. Map 16.1, which shows a Southern plantation in 1860 and 1881. You'll see the contrast from the beginning of the war till a few years after Reconstruction was over. The political cartoon in the text on page 441, which will give you an idea of how Grant was really bogged down by all sorts of scandals. He was arguably one of the worst presidents we've ever had in terms of government purity. And then the election of 1876, there's a map on page 445. It'll show you the breakdown of the Electoral College. Rutherford B. Hayes really eked out a very narrow victory, and he left in 1880 almost universally disliked. The sharecropping map, or the sharecropping contract rather, that is in this week's reading, I think is also going to be helpful because you get an idea of the strenuousness of the conditions that the sharecroppers had to live through. And there is a discussion question on that if you'd like to answer it. All right, I hope this is helpful and I hope that you're going to enjoy this week's readings. I'll see you next time. Happy reading.